Hello, today I'm doing some Scotch reviews. I already did some last week with Glen Ord, and today I'm doing some more with Ardmore. Now, why do Scotch reviews? Because I think Scotch whiskey is a very valuable rum alternative and brandy alternative for that matter. So, I know a lot of you out there just think of Scotch as something you can just top up with soda water and all that stuff. Uh, which is that's very fair given the information that's out there. Or you probably look at some of the big bottles, the big mass-produced bottles out there, and you just assume that Scotch is always going to have that kind of scary orange color and the very, very low alcohol percentage. Even some people on the internet will tell you this is just kind of a natural thing because, the color of barley is a kind of brownish tan orange color, and indeed it doesn't have a whole lot of starch content, so therefore low ABVs. Right? That's not true though, because a lot of that is just unscrupulous producers who are adding colorant and excessive water after the fact. But you will find, if you take the time to explore Scotch whiskey, that there are a lot of producers out there who are doing things a little bit more artisanally, with some integrity, and they're not doing that. So, and those are the ones to track down. So, of course, Scotch whiskey is never going to be as profound as rum or brandy, but if you were looking to give your palate a break from that, or if you're just upset with and getting tired of the way that brandy and rum prices have been going up, I think you should really take a look at some Scotch whiskeys. I think they're a valuable use of your time. So, we're going to try these out, see how it goes. Sorry, you see what I did there? See what I did there? All right. Ardmore. Ardmore Distillery, kind of like Glen Ord, is a little bit obscured. You don't have a whole lot of nerds chasing after it. So it's, depending on who you ask, it's either a distillery on the far, far east of the Speyside. We should keep this thing up. Or more commonly, I would call it a distillery. In the Eastern Highlands, so over there with Fettercairn and Glengarry, a couple of others, and it's interesting for a number of reasons. It's always been associated with the Teacher's Highland Cream blend, which used to be very good. I've been disappointed with recent bottles, but it used to be very good. They make a lot of whiskey. But yeah, it's never really gotten a lot of notice recently. Part of that is I think because it's never really been high on the nerds and reviewers lists. Like if you ask the top whiskey reviewers out there, none of them are putting Ardmore in their top 10. It's just not happening. But more importantly, they just don't really have an official range anymore. Back in the day, you used to be able to find the Ardmore traditional cask, which they then changed to just traditional Ardmore, traditional something. And basically that was the Ardmore equivalent of Lefroy quarter cask. And it was quite good. That was basically my house peated whiskey. That was just the one I kept around. And it was quite good, and more importantly than that, it was extremely cheap. It was like $30 a bottle for unchill filtered 46% peaty whiskey. It was great. And then they pulled it off the market. And on paper, there is still an official range. You will find two bottlings commonly. You will find the Ardmore Legacy, which is the 40% no age statement Ardmore with less peated malt in it. So basically kind of the Ardmore equivalent of Lefroy Select. may its name be accursed forever. Um, and no brick and mortar shop I've ever been to has ever stocked Lefroy. Ardmore Legacy. You know why? Because there's some people. There's a market out there for Lefroy Select. There's people who want to spend not a whole lot of money on the posers who want to spend very little money on Lefroy and who don't want it to be all that harsh and challenging. Fine, there's a market for that. No one is looking for like diet Ardmore. That is not happening. Um, so, yeah. The other option as far as official bottlings of Ardmore that you can't find would be the 12-year-old, which sounds very nice, except it is finished in port. Yeah. So I can't help but think this is a kind of deliberate self-sabotage of the brand on the part of Beam Suntory, that maybe they just don't want competition for Bowmore and Lefroy. There are other two sort of big peated whiskies. I don't know, but in any case, the upshot of that is no one cares about Ardmore, so it isn't particularly expensive, even for older versions. And happily, unlike Glenore, I wouldn't say a lot, there's a fair bit of it out there. Like independent bottlings of Ardmore are pretty dang accessible. I've always been a fan because it represents the other side of peated mainland Scotch. You kind of got the brewer side. I mean, brewer is probably the most famous peated Highlander, peated mainland Scotch out there, right? But then on the other side, you've got Ardmore here was doing peated Highlander stuff way before brewer ever got into it, and basically deserve your attention. Also, have I mentioned that these are pretty good values for what they bring? All right, enough of my blabbing. Let's get some notes on the table. So what have I got here? I have got an Art Lair, 2011 Art Lair from the Ultimate. What the heck is Art Lair? Art Lair is unpeated Ardmore, and less common. They're around, but they're less common. The thing is, these tend to be very, very cheap. This is an 11-year-old cask strength single malt and how, and I think I paid maybe $50 for it. By contrast, this I bought maybe 7 years ago. This is a 7-year-old Ardmore, and it still cost me about $50. So Art Lair is, both of these are, both malts are good value, but man, keep an eye out for if this is good. Go out and chase this stuff down. Then I've got one of these sort of Gordon and MacPhail distillery labels that they make for basically distilleries that don't care enough to, do official bottlings of their own whiskey very much. So there's that. The important thing about this is it's about 20 years old, and it was not expensive. And then I got a bottle of 7-year-old Ardmore bourbon barrel that I bought from Binny's a couple of years ago and kind of stashed away. Full disclosure, I work for Binny's. I'm in the wine department. I don't think the spirits folks care what I say, but there you go. All right, let's get into this. Art Lair, bottled by the Ultimate. This is distilled 2011, bottled in 2022. This was a refill sherry butt. So you should expect this to, behave younger than it actually is. Think like, what I'm expecting is 11 years going on like 6. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I will put all the details down for all of these down below because it's just too much trouble to say it all. Natural colored, unchill filtered, and 64.2% alcohol. So this is pretty dang serious on the nose. Okay, so it is nippy on the nose. Yeah, there's definitely some alcohol coming through, but it is also very dense and interesting. I will say, just to kind of preview the next couple of bottles as well, Ardmore really, for me, has never really been a nosing whiskey. The nose is not where the excitement is. But this is bringing a fair amount of interest. It's also quite dense. Raisinets, definitely. A lot of kind of refill elements I associate with refill sherry. Orange peel. Some like stewed tea, stewed Darjeeling happening. But then there's also just like some applesauce and like something minerally like rocks, but ashy rocks, rocky ash, something like that. A little black pepper. You know what? I'm getting some Oban vibes on this. So if you're a fan of the kind of gray, tannish, stately, you know, cylindrical containers, you might want to look out for this. Actually, a lot of pepper now that I'm paying attention. Maybe that's not pepper. Maybe it's more like a like Szechuan pepper oil or something like that. Yeah, okay, we're on to something. Almost like a beery element as well, like a nice lager, like a Kolsch happening. Touches of tropical fruit going on alongside the applesauce, like a little bit of kiwi. Mirabelle plums. Mirabelles are these kind of like orangey plums. Check them out. Like it's that's a useful note to me now that when I'm kind of looking for something that's orange but not quite orange, I begin to think, okay, is that Mirabelle I'm smelling? Interesting, fun nose. But I do think this would benefit from water, so we shall see what happens with that on the palate. Oh. Once again, very, very nippy. The alcohol is showing up here, but very good. Black pepper, or really it's like the Szechuan pepper oil thing. But in any case, some kind of peppery thing and honey. So you're going to mix your Szechuan pepper oil around with a bunch of honey, and you're going to put it all in your mouth. That's what this tastes like, along with a bunch of alcohol. Orange peel, once again. Mirabelle, but also just regular old plum happening. Hot chocolate, like that kind of rocks thing again, the like ashy gravel kind of thing. Lots of Darjeeling once again. And oh, what is that? This is gonna sound funny, but I could imagine if a Szechuan chef were to prepare apples, this might be what it tastes like. It's got so Szechuan apple, if you like really spicy apple. It really needs water. This is I'm enjoying this. This is bringing a lot, but it kind of feels like almost a halfway point between Oban and like not Tianin, like Ardlair or something. You know, one of those Highlanders that bring a lot of kind of tropical fruit to the table. It's kind of doing that. Nice, some banana pudding happening as well. All right, I'll give this some water. We'll come back to it. This is going to need at least 5 squirts. At least 5 squirts. See if that tamed it. I'm gonna go 5.5. Or, well, that was like 5.25. But whatever, we're gonna keep it there. Next up, Gordon and MacPhail. Ardmore 2000, bottled 2021. They do not state an age on this, but you figure 20 odd years old. I do not know much about this. This is, these distillery labels from Gordon and MacPhail. They don't state unchill filtered or natural color or anything. There's very, very little information, but they are bottled at 46%, which is nice. I don't even know what kind of cask this is. And also they come with this cool display box. How great is that? All right, so this is not expensive for a 20-year-old. There are not a lot of available, inexpensive, peated malts with age on them out there. And this is rolling in price-wise, in between, Lecheg 18 and Bowmore 18. That's the price range on this. So certainly not inexpensive, but you can think about buying this. On the nose, it's actually surprisingly softer than the Art Lair was. There's a lot. It's very subtle. There's some wispy, twiggy peat, campfirey peat. Ardmore isn't really a seasidey maritime distillery, so you're not getting that. It's more like peat campfire. There's also a little bit of barnyard happening. So you're, there's pigs and cows running around, some goats. You're just picking up some of the dirt, with all those animals running around. You're kind of sniffing it. That's what I'm smelling. Stewed tea again. I'm not really Darjeeling. It's just, I can't even pin it down that much. It's just kind of a stewed tea note. A little bit of vanilla fudge, but I'm not being pounded in the face by the vanilla. There's actually more black peppery stuff going on here than vanilla, or even there's some nuttiness. There's some almost like almond shells happening. So I suspect a lot of this was not bourbon barrel. Maybe some kind of refill sherry, or I don't know, recharge. No, I don't think it's a recharge. I think it's refill sherry, but I don't know. Certainly some minerality going on, some gravel again. Kind of a mixture of actually Obstler, Austrian Obstler, eau de vie, which is kind of a blend of apple and pear typically. That's kind of what it smells like. There's a little bit of an Obstler note going on. You give this some time in the glass and it gets more grassy, and it improves with time, which is a good sign. If a whiskey is degrading with time, long day. If it's degrading with time, that is a bad sign. But if it's developing more notes as it sits in the glass, that is generally a good indication. Yeah, if you're coming to this expecting Ardbeg, Lefroy, that kind of thing, you're going to be disappointed with this nose. Because it isn't a sledgehammer. There's peat there, but you kind of have to go hunting for it, as well as hunting for the rest of those notes. But there is depth here. There is complexity. All right, let's see what's happening on the palate. Again, Ardmore, not really a nosing whiskey for me, so it's really on the palate where this has to deliver. Oh, and it does. It's good. Not great, but it's good. Much more peaty on the palate, and kind of just much more impressive overall than on the nose. So we're getting twiggy campfire peat. We're getting barnyard. We're getting Hong Kong style hot milk tea. Oh yeah. that kind of like that kind of hot and numbing Szechuan pepper oil thing is happening on my palate. More gravel, more dried grass. That kind of nuttiness I mentioned, the almond shell or something like that, that's here. It's not super duper mega complex, but I'm pretty sure this is majority sherry cask. I don't know, not fresh sherry. This is, I'm guessing, second, third fill maybe. It's not super duper complex, but it's bringing a lot of character to the table, and it does not taste like Johnnie Walker Blue Label, which makes me so happy. I'm so tired of tasting like 15, 18, 20-year-old whiskeys that basically are doing a riff on Johnnie Walker Blue Label. It's boring. This is better. I'm enjoying the dried grass barnyard tobacco-y thing this is doing. Yeah. Toasted orange peel. More than that, even kind of a little bit of like a Grand Marnier note. Tobaccos, different tobaccos. There's some oriental tobaccos, some citric tobaccos, but also a little bit of burley, also a little bit of Virginia. This is lovely. It's got a ways to go to top that Lecheg, but it's got real character. All right, I'm going to add just a squirt of water. I'm going to see what happens. What I'm really hoping will happen is that, actually with both this and the Art Lair, is that water will improve the nose, because that's where they were both falling off for me a little bit. And last up, this is, again, a Binny's pick I bought years and years and years ago. Ardmore 2008, 7-year-old, bottled in 2015. This is different from the Art Lair, at least. I'm guessing the Gordon MacPhail too, and this is a bourbon barrel. Yeah, natural color. They never state unchill filtered on this, but I'm pretty darn sure it is. 61.7% alcohol. So again, do not light a match near this. Here we go. So this is the form. Cask strength, young bourbon barrel, matured, in which you will see most of the Ardmores out there, and they tend to be pretty darn good. Okay, that's very interesting. Again, if you're coming to this expecting Lefroy, it's going to be very, very weird. It's a different kind of character, this. It's really like, the peat is much more subtle on the nose than you would think. Peated tropical fruit, if that makes sense. Kiwi, banana, like, if you can imagine those peated. And then the campfire twigs. Like just burned twigs. Touches of like grassy, barnyardy goodness. No Darjeeling this time. It's more like gunpowder green tea or something. Oh, and by the way, massive piles of vanilla on this. Like, just throw all the vanilla in here. Apple, like almost a smoked apple kind of thing. White pepper, touch of like Virginia tobacco, maybe like a stoved red Virginia. Sandstone, a little like yeah, like even like a touch of like floral elements coming through, some fresh flowers happening, which I don't usually get on Ardmore. That's kind of cool. It's fun. It's different. These don't smell like Isla, but they're kind of doing their own thing with the peatiness, and I like that. I like the Ardmore signature. It's I don't think it's any of the reviewers' favorites, but God, it's just delightful and it's different. On the palate. Oh, that's not fair. So, vanilla plus peat. Bourbon, ex-bourbon barrel cask plus peat is always going to work. Doesn't matter any of the further details. It's just always going to work. It's the cheapest trick in the book. And I will continue to fall for it every single time. Yeah, in some respects, this reminds me of the Douglas Lang, the Big Pete. It's that kind of thing. It's like there's other details going on, but really, the hook is like just vanilla plus peat. It works. So on the palate, much more peat showing up than on the nose. And it's also much more barnyard driven. It's just a good signature. When you're seeing this kind of peat plus vanilla trick, you have to look past that. Look past the deliciousness of that combination. What else is going on? What else is happening? Barnyard, gravel, dead grass. The Darjeeling thing, I wasn't getting on the nose. That is back. But the tropical fruit, the like almost smoky campfire-y tropical fruit elements are there too. Like almost a, not even banana flambe, almost just straight up like banana custard happening here. Szechuan pepper oil again. Full Virginia flake tobacco. Vanilla fudge. It's a simple trick, this. But it works and it has the kind of depth to pull it off. Is it my favorite whiskey in the history of the world? No. Do I think it's, in the realms of greatness? No, I don't. But this works. And for like, what, the $50 I paid for it. Oh, man. And you can still get stuff like this. I'm going to give this a couple squirts of water. Start with 4. I'm going to guess this needs 5. It needs 5. We'll set that aside. Go back through these again. Back to the Art Lair. So what I'm really hoping is that the nose kicks up on this thing. I mean, yes and no. So it's not as nippy, which is good. The nip was kind of bothering me before, but that's just because this was 64% alcohol. It hasn't really like thrown a whole bunch of new notes at me. It's actually become almost much more sharp and focused. It's become almost like a malt eau de vie. Yeah, tons of kiwi happening, almost a little pineapple too. Some orchard fruit. But a lot of it is just like this very ashy, beautiful, pure kiwi note. All of the notes from before, the raisinets and stuff that I mentioned, they're still kind of there. They're just kind of bringing up the rear. This is interesting. Huh. It's a much more focused and linear nose, but I think I might be enjoying it more. Not a whole lot more than it was neat, but just a little bit more. On the palate, here we go. fire. This is fire. Oh man. Like again, this is not expensive. And stuff like this is not expensive because you know who out there on this whole YouTube's here cares about Art Lair? No one cares about Art Lair, but this is good. Wow. It's so we're getting basically just these beautiful baskets of fruit, tropical fruit, but also like pears and apples, maybe a peach here and there. But backed up with that sort of spicy Szechuan pepper thing, the tea, the chocolate, the ash, lots of ash. I'm going to repeat my assertion about like Oban meets Ball Blair and double that. This is hitting that kind of style, and it's very good. How crazy do I want to get scoring this? Look at this. I'm drinking this stuff. It's still a hair raw. It's a little bit edgy. Like if you were one of those people who watch Ralphie, shout out to Ralphie. That thing he does, well, he will like just teaspoon a ton of water into a glass and then leave it with the lid on for like hours. If you are the person who does that, I think this whiskey will work very well with that. Like it's just, it's even after I've added water to it and given a little bit of time to relax, it still like feels very wound up, a little bit raw. It's like drinking a really good Burgundian aligote or something. It's just full of energy and it's a little bit raw and maybe it's a little bit too much raw, but it's awesome anyways. 87 plus. 87 plus, which is in context for a like circa $50 cask strength Highland single malt. Is a very good score for me. This is absolutely worth buying. Yeah, there's a lot there. But know what you're getting into. Like this is, you're gonna have to like hold this thing's hand a little bit. It is a little bit raw. Whence the minus. All right, moving on to the Gordon and MacPhail here, the 2000. So again, same kind of story. I'm hoping the nose improves on this. On the nose. Nope, it's still pretty soft and subtle. It's nice. I like this nose. I do like this nose. This kind of like smoky Mirabelle thing. I just wanted to give me a little more, you know. All right, let's see what's happening on the palate. Nope, it kind of dumbs down a little bit actually with water. So yeah, be careful if you're adding water to this. I didn't even give it like a big squirt or anything, but you know, I would keep this to a couple of drops if anything. Same kind of notes, but yeah, it feels like it's being stretched kind of thin by the addition of water. I don't think I drowned this, but some malts don't like water. So yeah, it's not beating Lecheg 18 for me, which is kind of a shame. But it's definitely better than Bowmore 18. And it's fun. If you don't add water to this, if you bought this, Don't do what I'm doing here. But it's still... This is still very good. Yeah, I'm going to give this the same score as the previous one, 87 minus, for different reasons. The minus is something I use when you know, I want to keep the high score that I'm giving something, or the low score, whatever it is. But I do want to note some issue that I'm having that, you know, just add that qualification on there. The Ardlair is a little bit edgy, and the Ardmore 2000 does not like water. And with that, we shall move on to the 2008 7-year-old from Signatory. See what happens. Huh. Not a ton of development on this either. Well, maybe there's a little bit of barnyard coming out now, a little bit more than there was on the nose before. It's that kind of barnyardiness that I find fun in Ardmore, as opposed to as something distinct to Islay. You don't really get that. You can get some weirdness in say Brooklady in particular, but not like this. Oh, actually, I'm getting a kind of mustard seedy element going on now, which actually reminds me a little bit of Lecheg, like Tobermory. Okay, so that's development. That's nice. And I'm not opposed to that. Let's see what happens on the palate. Ooh. So this Ardmore becomes, when you add water, a little bit of a mustard seed bomb, which I'm okay with. I feel like Lecheg fans could really get into this. But it's awesome. It's still kind of doing all the same stuff from before, anchored above all by that just magic combination of tons of vanilla with peat. Yeah. It's very simple, but it's also weird and very fun. I'm going to give this 86 points. It's just a little bit simpler than the others, but definitely well worth looking after. And that concludes this little round of Ardmores. 87 minus for both the Art Lair and the 2000. Well worth seeing after. I think I don't regret buying the 2000, because the price for what it is really still quite good. But I want a little bit more from it. On the other hand, this Art Lair as a piece of value, go grab this. If you are not opposed to something that's a little bit hairy, go and grab this. And good old-fashioned young Ardmore, always good when married to a bourbon barrel. 86 points on this. Thanks for watching, and cheers.